Hey, Steve Zook here. Welcome back to Poke Shoot Channel. Hey, I want to do a little video here about beginning guitar players that are just kind of starting off. And actually, a guy called me yesterday from Canada and was kind of interested in the guitar ladder system. I explained it's mostly for intermediate and advanced players. However, I have had some beginners start working the system, and man, they really progress. But if you're a beginning guitar player, I'm going to give you some really powerful tips here. The most powerful and most important tip is commit to it for at least a year before you even think about it, because it can be a lifelong, beautiful, enriching spiritual experience. You can get a lot of joy out of it, but you have to put something into it. It's not a free ride. So my suggestion is don't even think about it for a year. Practice half hour a day as much as you can. Another really important thing to do if you're a beginner, obviously, like simple things, and there's a ton of it out there on the net, like learning how to strum. And strumming is not as easy as it sounds, so don't be frustrated if you have to work on it, And you can do quarter notes. Just start real simple, doing quarter notes, eighth notes. You can just use one chord if you want, doesn't matter. But there's lots of information on the net about how to strum. And also maybe start working on a song, whether it's a Neil Young song or a Bob Dylan song, something simple. Maybe go with Bob Dylan, might be a little more simple. Something to keep your interest, but seriously, it can really be an enriching experience. So, give it a chance. It's not a free ride. You're gonna have to you're gonna get out of it what you put into it. So the beginning stages it's the trickiest time. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's the trickiest time. You kind of have to get over that hump. But something really important to do when you're a beginner is just scales. Don't worry about how fast you do them. You could do minor pentatonic scales. Also, and there's tons of this on the net, also just kind of pseudo-chromatics like this. And maybe, don't worry about alternate picking when you practice it sometimes, and then do it again and alternate down, up with your right hand, okay? But see, it's really important to get the strength and the elasticity going so that you can learn to do like a bar chord and things like that, and get the strength to begin. And like I said, a big part of learning music and guitar is ear training. That's why the guitar ladder system is so powerful. Like I said, I've had people that were just in the kind of, maybe call it middle stages of being a beginner, or even beginning stages, who did the other stuff I just talked about, but also started working on cycle one. But here's the thing, if cycle one is really blowing your mind, then don't do it, The attitude is one of the most important things in anything in life, especially learning a musical instrument. This is going to sound really crazy, but trust me on this. I've got a lot of experience. I started guitar at 8. I'm 63. I've taught hundreds of people, including people online. Do not be results oriented. Do not be so goal oriented. Do not be so outcome oriented. Just be in the here and now. Work on the guitar. Be in the here and now. Don't compare yourself to other people. Just work on it with a good positive attitude. And when you work on it with a good positive attitude, without a bunch of expectations, you're going to access a science of neuroplasticity. There's actually like an open switch and a save switch that happens when you have that type of attitude. So I can't stress enough, simple exercises like this, as you can see what I'm doing with the left hand here, right? Just simple things. And then with the right hand, I like to mute because it builds strength, and like place an accent, bam, like hear that accent. So I'm kind of resting on the strings a little bit. That builds technique, and I accent the first one. You can also do it without resting on the strings, just kind of having your hand float like this. You can still get the accent, but if if you're a beginner, don't worry too much about that. Like I said, if you want to work on some blues licks, there's tons of them on the net. But I wouldn't be too concerned about that. It's just there's going to be a certain redundant quality to your practice in the beginning. You can't expect fireworks, okay? But just know every time you play something clean like this, you're building technique and you're building strength. And I'll tell you, man, I've been using the analogy lately. It's almost like having a twin. You know, when you begin to develop your musical ear, your musical consciousness, whatever you want to call it, it's a really beautiful thing. It's very fulfilling. It's like having a friend or having a twin that you feel genetically, in tune to. But it's a little bit of work, and I think this needs to be said. I think people need to understand that you're going to get out of the guitar what you put into it. And the first 6 months or a year are going to be tricky, but if you hang in there with it, you won't believe how much it will enrich your life. Am I trying to sell you a little bit on it? Yes, I am. Because it's true. Playing guitar is a beautiful thing, but it's not like, driving through somewhere and getting a burger, There's a little bit of work involved. But then Segovia used to talk about this, as well as other great musicians like Paco de la Thea and lots of great musicians, is that, it's really important to build strength and elasticity. So, doing simple things like this is really, I like to mute to get the strength. Like I said, you can do the pentatonic forms. Maybe do a few of those pentatonic. Do the pentatonic forms, minor pentatonic, they're all over the net. You can do major scale. You make up little ways to be creative with it. But the most important thing, again, is commit for 6 months to a year before you even ask yourself, are you going to stick with the guitar? Because if you're just going to give it a few weeks or a month or two, you're probably going to bail on it, and you're going to lose out on a really cool hobby that can be very enriching to your life. And like I said, maybe learn a song by somebody that's going to be a relatively simple chords, like a Bob Dylan song or something. Work on strumming. And don't get frustrated if it takes you a little time. Because strumming isn't as easy as it looks, and some people take to it a little more naturally. That's why it's important not to compare yourself to other people. Don't look at your friend who just picks up a guitar and hears a song and learns to play it. I mean, I hear this kind of stuff all the time. Don't worry about it. You're on your own spiritual journey. You're on your own journey. And what's so cool about the guitar is it synchronizes the left-right brain. It's kind of like brain food. It's going to kind of tune your brain and help you in other areas of your life. So it's a really beautiful thing. And I've known people who had very little natural talent but ended up taking guitar much further than I ever imagined. One of the reasons was because they invested in the guitar ladder system. And that's why I suggested this guy that called yesterday, even though he might not get to it for a while, I was suggesting he go ahead and order the guitar ladder system. One of the big reasons I suggested that was the commitment. I figured if he spent $200, he's going to stick with it, right? Plus, the exercises in the guitar ladder system, it's not that much more difficult to play up here, except for maybe the bar chord, right? Than to be down here and doing chords, And in terms of the bar chord, just practice taking one of your fingers, and you can even put the other finger on top for strength. Just practice that. That's a good one for beginners to practice. And again, don't worry about results. Just put your finger like on the 7th fret. If your action's too high, go get it set up by a pro luthier. First finger here, second finger on top. Practice that. Move it around, right? It's actually not a bad sounding chord, right? And then once you get the strength with that, maybe try like a minor chord, like a minor bar like this. Try a minor 7 like this. Try a major chord. But again, like I said, you can't do enough scales. When I was, I wasn't a beginner, but I at one point I was doing 6 hours of scales a day. Now I know you're not going to do that as a beginner, right? Unless you're really committed. But even just a half an hour to an hour a day, and it can be pseudo-chromatics like this. You can rest your hand on the strings to get that muting sound, which kind of helps you build right hand technique. Do alternate picking up, down with your right hand. You can also not rest the right hand. Don't rest the right hand and do just let your right hand float, okay? But like I said, so my formula for a beginning guitar player to end up having a lifelong friend, like you're creating your own spiritual twin, and wake up your musical ear and have something that really can enrich your life, is work on strumming, work on a song, a simple song, maybe a Bob Dylan song or something. Be super, super patient with yourself. Don't be results oriented. Don't be too hard on yourself. Don't expect fireworks. Don't even think about it for 6 months to a year. Don't be outcome results oriented. Just get into the here and now and get into the process of learning. Keep a good attitude, stay positive, and trust me on this. I know what I'm talking about. It's gonna really pay off for you. And work on scales half hour to an hour a day. Okay, that's really, really important. And like I said, there's, you can do pseudo chromatics like this. Go back the other way. If you want to take this another notch, then start placing accents. Okay. Some people like to do it like, somebody do it when you're going this way. Keep the fingers like stretched like that. If that's hard to do, move it up a little bit. But these are some tips to help you, get the most out of your beginning stage of guitar. And if you start getting some strength and seriously, I mean, like I said, even though my guitar ladder system is more for intermediate to advanced players, I was suggesting to this guy that called me yesterday to go ahead and order it, because that way I know he would be committed, and I offer a 10-year membership anyway. So and like I think I sent him cycle 1, and I suggested not to get don't get blown away by cycle 1. It might seem a little tricky, but even if you just do a few chords of cycle 1, and if this is hard to do, then you can also do it like that, where you don't bar the first finger, just do it open. Same thing here. It's going to sound a little bit different, right? And then slowly work on that bar, like work on a finger all the way across and then putting the second finger on top. But like I said, that's why the most important thing is to do scales and pseudo type scales to build strength, okay? So, and know that as you're doing this, you're building strength. If you do the scales a half hour, 45 minutes a day with a positive attitude, without saying, oh, this is boring, just know that it's like putting money in the bank. Every time you do a scale, you're making a positive deposit into your guitar bank, which is going to grow and grow and grow and grow and pay off down the road. So just wanted to share a few tips for you beginning guitar players. It's really a beautiful thing. I mean, I can't stress it enough. And I've known lots of people who are advanced players or intermediate players who've ordered the guitar ladder system and are really growing. And I've known quite a few beginners that decide, you know what, they understand my point, they want to commit. And even if you don't, even if you do other things for the first 6 months or 3 to 6 months, you can do little bits of the guitar ladder program. But I'm not trying to do a big push to beginners to buy the guitar ladder program. If it doesn't make sense, don't buy it, no problem. But I want to at least make these points, okay? So I think that's enough for right now. And have a good day. Take care. Keep the faith.